I was a relic, apparently. We're moving this library into the 21st century, Mr. Finch. Your approach is quaint, but we need digital natives now, not book custodians. Bryce Kellinger, all of 32, with an MBA slicker than his hair, delivered the verdict from across my own expansive oak desk. My desk. For 20 years I, Arthur Finch, 60 years old, had been the director of the Metropolis Central Library. I wasn't quaint, I was the architect of its modern heart. He didn't get it. He wouldn't. I just gave a small, tired nod. No fireworks. No shouting. My calculations had already begun. The sting of his dismissal, the casual swipe at decades of dedication, was sharp. But my composure was a shield, honed by years of navigating city budgets and bureaucratic labyrinths. He saw an old man. He had no idea what he'd just unleashed. The tremors started a month after Kellinger was appointed by the new mayor, a man who preached disruptive innovation like it was scripture. First, Kellinger questioned our acquisitions budget. Physical books, Artie, in this day and age. Isn't that just inefficient storage? He called me Artie, a diminutive I despised from a man half my age who wouldn't know a first edition from a Kindle. That was the first sign. The second came when he proposed replacing 3 reference librarian positions with an AI chatbot. It'll learn faster, be available 24/7, and won't need coffee breaks, he'd chirped in a staff meeting, oblivious to the gasps. The third, and most galling, was his memo suggesting we monetize underutilized community spaces. Our quiet reading rooms, the free tutoring zones. He wanted to rent them out for corporate events. Each suggestion was a chisel blow against the library's very soul, a place I'd cultivated not just as a repository of knowledge, but as a sanctuary for the city. I knew then, this wasn't about modernization. It was about demolition. The Marcus Thorne, the previous library board president, was a different breed. A retired history professor, he'd handpicked me 2 decades ago. Arthur, he'd said, his eyes twinkling behind his spectacles, this library needs to be more than just shelves of books. It needs to be the city's living room, its conscience. Together, we'd weathered budget crises, fought for every dime. I spearheaded the drive that built the interactive children's wing, a project everyone said was impossible. I'd overseen the painstaking digitization of the city's fragile historical archives, making our local history accessible to the world. My team and I launched literacy programs that reached thousands, from toddlers to seniors. Marcus trusted my judgment, my dedication to collection development, not as hoarding, but as curating pathways to understanding. He understood that a library's true worth wasn't in its efficiency metrics, but in the quiet hum of discovery within its walls. Kellinger's philosophy was the antithesis of everything Marcus and I stood for. He saw the library as a business, its patrons as customers, its books as inventory. Metrics were his gods. Foot traffic's easily gamed, download counts often meaningless, cost per interaction soulless. My belief the library's enduring mission was in fostering information literacy, in providing equitable access to knowledge and culture for everyone, regardless of their ability to pay or their tech savviness. He wanted to streamline, to automate, to cut. I wanted to expand, to engage, to empower. We weren't just on different pages, we were reading entirely different books, one a glossy corporate prospectus, the other a well-worn volume on civic humanism. The conflict was fundamental, irreconcilable. He saw tradition as a boat anchor, I saw it as the keel that provided stability in stormy seas. My core team felt the chill wind too. Dr. Lina Hansen, our brilliant, fiercely dedicated head of archives and special collections, with nearly 30 years safeguarding the city's memory, was openly derided by Kellinger for her obsession with dusty old paper. David Chen, our dynamic head of community outreach, whose innovative programs had made the library a vibrant hub for immigrant families in underserved neighborhoods, was told his efforts lacked scalable KPIs. It became brutally clear. This wasn't just about me. It was a purge. Kellinger was systematically dismantling the old guard, anyone who represented the library's established values, anyone over 50, it seemed. We, the institutional memory, were being erased. The fear among the long-serving staff was palpable. This was a deliberate power play, a hostile takeover of the library's identity, and we were the collateral damage. The evening of my dismissal, I didn't rage. I retrieved my employment contract from my home safe. Section 7, Clause B. A parachute Marcus Thorne had insisted on years ago when another city department tried to poach me. To ensure stability and protect against political whims, he'd said. It stipulated that termination without thoroughly documented cause defined by a rigorous, multi-stage disciplinary process would trigger a severance payment equal to 2 full years' salary. Kellinger, in his arrogant haste, hadn't bothered with due process. He just swung the axe. The next morning, I called Gloria Diaz, an old friend and one of the sharpest civil rights lawyers in the city. I explained the situation. She listened intently, then a slow smile spread across her face. Arthur, she said, her voice brimming with a litigator's delight. I think Mr. Kellinger has made a rather expensive mistake. This isn't just a clause, it's a canon. Hope, cold and clear, began to dawn. This wasn't just an ending, it could be a tactical retreat. The meeting was in a sterile City Hall conference room. Kellinger sat flanked by a nervous, looking junior lawyer from the city's legal department. I had Gloria, calm and formidable, her briefcase open, my contract front and center. This is a simple restructuring, Mr. Finch. Kellinger began, oozing false sincerity. Difficult decisions for a new era. Gloria didn't even glance at him. She addressed the city lawyer. Mr. Finch's contract, specifically Section 7, Clause B, outlines a very clear procedure for termination with cause. We have received no documentation of such a procedure being followed. Therefore, this is a termination without cause, triggering a severance of $280,000. Kellinger sputtered. That's outrageous. His performance was stagnant. The city lawyer winced. Mr. Kellinger, Gloria said, her voice like chipped ice. Unsubstantiated opinions do not constitute documented cause as defined in Appendix D. We require written warnings, performance improvement plans, formal reviews. You have provided none. The young lawyer whispered frantically to Kellinger, who waved him off. We'll offer 3 months, standard. Gloria slowly closed her briefcase. Then we'll see you in court. Discovery will be illuminating, especially regarding the dismissal patterns of senior staff, and we'll be seeking legal fees, of course. Just then, Marcus Thorne, alerted by a sympathetic board member, called Kellinger's direct boss, the city manager. I didn't hear that call, but Kellinger's face went from red to white when his phone buzzed. He listened, muttered a "yes, sir," and hung up. He looked at me, pure venom in his eyes. Fine. You'll get your money, you dinosaur. He stormed out. The city lawyer stayed behind, already drafting the agreement. It wasn't just a financial win, it was a moral one. The severance check was substantial, but the victory felt hollow if it was only for me. I called Lena first, then David. They'd both been given their notices, flimsy excuses about departmental restructuring. Lena was devastated, David was furious. He's destroying everything. Lena choked out, or archives, David's literacy program's years of work. I met them for coffee. He underestimated us, I said, laying out my contract story. And he underestimated the value of what we built. An idea, nebulous at first, began to form. We had the experience, the passion, the network. What if we didn't just fade away? What if we fought back, not by picketing City Hall, but by creating something new, something Kellinger couldn't touch, something that championed the very principles he was trying to extinguish? A spark ignited in Lena's eyes. David leaned forward, suddenly animated. We weren't just 3 unemployed librarians. We were a think tank, a repository of skills, and a nascent rebellion. A week later, through a contact from my old university network, I met Sofia Ramirez. She was a local philanthropist and an ethical tech investor, known for backing projects with a strong social conscience. I pitched our idea, the People's Archive and Learning Commons, a nonprofit dedicated to preserving local community histories, offering specialized information literacy programs, and providing open access to digital humanities resources, all the things Kellinger's library was abandoning. Sophia listened, her gaze sharp and appraising. Lena spoke passionately about creating accessible, digital archives for neighborhood stories. David outlined a plan for mobile learning labs to reach underserved communities. Sophia asked hard questions about sustainability, about scale, about impact. Then she smiled. Gentleman, Dr. Hansen, she said, I believe in knowledge, and I believe in people who fight for it. I'm in. She offered seed funding and strategic guidance. Cornerstone Community Initiatives, that became our working title, was born. We'd build it from the ground up, a testament to what a library could be. The news from Metropolis Central wasn't good. Under Kellinger's dynamic leadership, things were unraveling. Patron complaints soared. The AI chatbot was a disaster, spewing nonsensical answers and frustrating users. Without Lena's meticulous oversight, access to key archival collections became chaotic. David's beloved community programs were slashed, replaced by poorly attended innovation workshops that felt more like corporate branding exercises. Staff morale plummeted. Several experienced librarians quit, unwilling to work under Kellinger's dismissive regime. The local paper even ran a piece titled, Metropolis Library Losing Its Way. Kellinger blamed legacy issues and resistance to change. But the truth was clear. You can't gut the heart of an institution and expect it to thrive. Experience, passion, and deep community connections weren't line items easily replaced by buzzwords and budget cuts. One evening, my phone rang. An unfamiliar number. Arthur, it's Marcus Thorne. His voice was wary. I've been hearing things, Arthur, bad things. The library, it's not what it was. I listened, saying little. Kellinger, Marcus sighed. He's all flash, no substance. The board is concerned. The mayor is getting an earful. He thought Kellinger was a wonderkind. A long pause. Arthur, I know you're working on something new. Sofia Ramirez is a smart woman, but the library, my library, is suffering. Is there anything you'd consider? Any advice you could offer the board? Perhaps a way to bridge this gap? It wasn't a job offer, not yet. It was a plea, a recognition that perhaps they'd thrown out the baby with the bathwater. A complex mix of vindication and sorrow washed over me. I still cared about that place, about the staff, about the community it served. The call from the city manager's office came a week later. The board wanted a formal meeting. Sofia, with her sharp business mind, helped us strategize. We wouldn't go in asking for jobs. We'd go in with a proposal. Cornerstone Community Initiatives could partner with Metropolis Central. We could take over the management of the archives, relaunch the community outreach programs, provide specialized training for staff in digital tools and patron service, areas where Kellinger was demonstrably failing. It wasn't about getting my old job back. It was about saving the library, using our new, agile organization to infuse it with the expertise and values it had lost. We held the cards of proven track record, community support, fanned by the negative press Kellinger was generating, and Sofia's backing. The negotiations were tough, but Kellinger's failures had weakened the city's position. The final agreement was unprecedented, a public-private partnership. Cornerstone Community Initiatives would be contracted to manage key service areas of Metropolis Central Library, including collection development, archives, and community engagement. I wouldn't be director in the old sense, but as head of Cornerstone, I would effectively guide the library's core mission and strategic direction. Lena would oversee the archives and special collections with full autonomy. David would rebuild the community programs. Kellinger. He was re-signed to a special projects role focusing on interdepartmental synergy. A classic bureaucratic vanishing act. The city manager, eager to quell the public outcry, hailed it as an innovative solution. For us, it was justice and a chance to rebuild. The power hadn't just shifted. It had been earned back through expertise and strategic patience. The first few months were a whirlwind. We reinstated popular programs, began the careful work of restoring order to the archives, and, most importantly, started to rebuild trust with the remaining library staff. Many who had been marginalized under Kellinger embraced the new direction with relief and enthusiasm. We blended the best of the library's traditions with Cornerstone's innovative, community-first approach. We launched workshops on patron privacy. In the digital age, something Kellinger had dismissed. We introduced new digital archive, projects that involve community members in preserving their own histories. The library slowly began to breathe again, its pulse strengthening. A year later, I stood on the mezzanine overlooking the main reading room. It was bustling. Students hunched over books, seniors navigated new tablets with volunteer assistance, children listened, rapped during story time. Lena was downstairs, excitedly showing a newly acquired historical map to a group of researchers. David was in the community hall, launching a new ESL program. Marcus Thorne, leaning a little more heavily on his cane but with a spark back in his eyes, joined me. "You did it, Arthur?" he said quietly. "You saved its soul." I just smiled. It wasn't about revenge or even personal vindication. It was about the enduring power of knowledge, the irreplaceable value of human connection, and the quiet dignity of service. The severance clause, Marcus's foresight, Kellinger's arrogance, they were all just catalysts. The real victory was here, in the vibrant, essential life of the Metropolis Central Library, a testament to the idea that wisdom and experience, when allied with vision, can indeed turn the page on adversity and write a brighter chapter.